Hello, everyone. This is Peter Vogopoulos from FirepoleMarketing.com. Welcome once again. This is another interview installment for Productive Marketing Month. Today, I'm very, very pleased and very honored to have Michael Sliwinski. Did I say that right, Michael? He
Yeah.
is the founder of a wonderful getting things done online application app called Nozbe, which you can find at nozbe.com. He's also a blogger at michaelnosby.com, and he's the editor of his own magazine and video show called Productive Magazine, which you can find as well through either the nosby.com site or at Productive Magazine. And he's also the CEO of his own e-marketing agency called API Vision. So clearly, this man does a lot. And
Mhm.
he is also the premier sponsor of Productive Marketing Month and the premier sponsor of the survey. We're really pleased to have him. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. It is our pleasure. So I'm gonna ask you the same thing I ask every other very, very busy person who I interview here. You've got Nozbe going on, and you were just telling me earlier before we started the interview how you've been working hard on the desktop version, and you've got your e-marketing agency, and somehow you also managed to do your video show where you've interviewed some amazing people. How do you get all that done? How do you get it all done? Is what we want to know.
Yeah, so it's so that I think the most important thing is the focus, right? So to make sure that what's the most important thing. So obviously the most important thing for me right now is Nozbe, because Nozbe is my application. Nozbe is right now where that earns me money basically, but most of all, it's my favorite thing because I'm building a tool that I love to use that thousands upon thousands of people and companies use all over the world. And actually, the whole idea of changing, of influencing how people work is incredible. So this is clearly my main focus. Um, Productivity is my passion. That's why I wasn't born a very organized person, let's say. I mean, my wife, for example, she's just organized by design. I mean, she's just well organized.
Nice.
Well, I was a disaster, and that's why I read Getting Things Done by David Allen. I built Nozbe for myself initially, then later I showed it to the world. And now with Practice Magazine Show, I'm trying to learn from the community and learn with the community how to get things done. Get to talk to really amazing people who, I mean, mentors. So I would say to just learn more about getting things done, about productivity, about work-life balance and all this stuff. Because right now in this information society, this is what we need. We need to know the good habits. We need to know what we should do, how to get it all done, right? So for me, that's the whole thing. I know what my primary focus is, where my core business is, and it's Nozbe. But the rest of the stuff, it just comes from my passion for productivity. And let's say my path wouldn't be complete if I would just focus on Nozbe. That's why I'm spending some of my time to these other ventures, which just are good, and I get a lot of positive feedback from people, and I get to learn a lot. And this is the thing.
That's wonderful. And do tell us just a little bit, just for the benefit of our viewers, just for context here. I mean, I recall, and I've been following Nozbe and you for some time. I mean, it seems that you started off. From what I understand, this was a tool that you made for yourself, and then you refined it, and then started showing it to the world, and then started hiring developers. And I think you were also following your passion in the sense that you were doing productivity training for people. I remember seeing you do that, and you also have a
Mhm.
very nice productivity primer on Nozbe.com, a really nice, succinct way of just getting
Yeah.
started with getting things done. So just tell us a little bit about that and how that sort of like did that just fall into place, or was that by design?
Well, it just fell into place. I mean, the whole thing started when I was running my e-marketing agency, Appivision.com. Appivision.com is no longer a business that I did for hire anymore because I focus mainly right now on Nozbe, on our, let's say, on our product. But until that point, when I launched Nozbe, I was for hire. I was working with many companies, helping them sell stuff over the internet. And because I was fairly successful, I was starting to not to meet deadlines. I was starting to be disorganized. And then I found the book by David Allen, Getting Things Done. And I built Nozbe practically overnight. I built it just for myself, very bare bones, just for me, a very simple thing. And I was using it and I was refining it. And when I decided, it's a thing that can actually if it works for me, maybe it will work for some other Michaels in the world, right? That's why I decided to launch it. And when I launched it, apparently there were many more Michaels than I thought on this planet. So
There are
people started
lots of
using
Michaels.
it. Yeah, and we started using it, and I was running Nozbe first year as a side business, but after 1 year of running it and seeing that there was a big potential there, and there are lots of great users there, and I'm enjoying working on it a lot more than working for other customers, so I decided to just go full time, and then it developed uh, into um, into a business. But the thing is that meanwhile, when I was preparing for the launch of Nozbe, I was already very active in the GTD community. I was already reading blogs and getting things done and participating in the forums. So I knew more or less the GTD community. I was already searching for hacks and tools to get things done better and all this stuff. So my passion for productivity, was building itself when I was building Nozbe. And that's why it was easier for me when I launched Nozbe to get to the community and to ask them for feedback, and later to continue developing this passion for productivity through Proactive Magazine and through the courses and some trainings and some and some other stuff. So that's why for me the Proactive Magazine is right now internal part of my DNA. I love doing this because it's just so much fun, and it just helps me grow.
That's great. Well, it was amazing to watch you how you did that, and so like this is great that you give us this context. Thank you. But this ties nicely into sort of like what I was wanting to talk to you about next. Is that I mean, okay, you've done all those things in Nozbe and Productive Magazine, and you probably have more ideas that you could do, but you talked about focus. How do you choose what you're going to do? And once you've chosen, okay, I'm going to do Nozbe and I'm going to do Productive Magazine, and I see how these things tie together. How do you make sure you follow through and it doesn't get done? And you don't get distracted by the shiny object, or
Yeah.
you let those other ideas sort of like start taking more prominence.
Because so to give you a more context to this, before I launched Nozbe and succeeded with Nozbe, I failed 3 times with the startup. So it's not like I was my bullseye in the first run. It wasn't. I failed 3 times, and what I learned from that is that I was actually pursuing many different things at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and this gave me Nozbe. So early success with Nozbe gave me this confidence to focus just on that. And right now I have so many ideas. I mean, so many ideas. And now my team has grown, and we are. I just hired 4 new amazing developers, and so the team has grown. We're bigger, but and I have many more ideas. But the thing is, still, some things you just have to let go. Some things I treat as training for something, right? So, for example, I had an idea for a product back in the fall. So I was just working on it, on the weekends, just working on it, just a little bit, just to give it a feel of how it would be, how it would turn out, and I basically shelved it. But I shelved it in a way that I just gave it to my developers and asked them, look, if from these ideas, can we use it in some way in our business? And then right now we have this internal product for ourselves that we will use to build the new Node website, for example. And while I still think this idea could be a different product, I'm too busy working on my product and making it sure it works for me than launching it as a separate product. And there are many things like that. But the thing is, you should always listen to your heart. What's really the thing that is genuinely yours and genuinely something you're passionate about, or something that is a new shiny object that will just fade away after a week or two, right? And for me, if I have this new shiny object, I like to play with it, but I always focus. I make sure that I know where my priorities are. And because my priorities are tied to something I'm really passionate about, it's not a big deal. It's not a big problem. Just also, in the startup world, especially, many people tend to show off. I'm working on this, on that, on that, and on that, and on that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like that, then it's really hard, to succeed in anything. So that's why. And of course, the second thing is I have good mentors. So when I talk to my mentors about my ideas, they very often, talk to me in a way to tell
This
me,
is
Michael,
good. That's not so
this is
good,
good.
Michael.
Exactly. Let this go. I mean, this is cool that you have this idea. Think how you could, turn it into something for your, main thing, for your project, but don't make it a different, don't lose focus. So it's also good to be surrounded by mentors and to talk to people who are just wiser than you. And this is something I've been trying to do also with the Practice Magazine, as you have seen. I've talked to Seth Godin, to Jason Fried, to Michael Hyatt, to Lee Babauta, to David Allen, and you know, all these guys are, you know, Guy Kawasaki. All these guys are very smart guys. So when you talk to them, you learn things, you know, how you should, you know, do that. So
That's really amazing about Productive Magazine. Well, I'm going to ask you about that in just a second. I wanted to ask you. I think you just said just so much wisdom in the last 5 minutes. I'm always fond of saying that you know, you as an entrepreneur are sort of like a gardener, and you have one watering can and only so many trees. And if you plant 5 trees and you give each tree a little bit of water, then none of the trees are going to grow. But if you plant one tree and you water that tree every day, it's going to grow, and then eventually that tree won't need watering, and then you can go off and do another tree. So
exactly.
I think you've said it really, really well right there, because you know, losing focus just means your energies get spread.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, you know, I've been running Nozbe 5 years now, 5 years. So it's quite a lot of time. And the problem with this is that the more you know, the less you know. I mean, for example, for me, after 5 years, Nozbe should have been right now a very mature product that doesn't need any development. And I see endless possibilities still for Nozbe. So that's why it's hard for me to let it go, because I see where Nozbe can go next, right? And next and next. So that's why it also helps me to focus, because I know with this I can still go all the way up. I mean, the further you go, the more you see and the more possibilities you see. And that's why it also helps me stay focused.
So, getting down now to like tactical stuff, day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you're obviously a user of your own tool, so I don't have to ask
Right.
you that. And I invite anybody to try it out at Nozbe.com. And if you're filling out our survey this month in Productive Marketing Month, you have a chance to win a year-long subscription to Nozbe. So go ahead and fill out that survey, everyone. So how do you stay on top of things and follow through and make sure it gets done? Obviously, Nozbe is your core. You work with a team of people, however, and I know you probably use Nozbe for that too. Uh, what are some of the hacks you use to stay productive every day?
So the most recent thing that we just discussed before the interview was the thing that what do you do in the morning? So for example, the routine is very important. And this is something I've been struggling as everyone else. It's not like I'm superhuman. It's not true. I'm a person like everyone else. And the thing is to develop good habits. For example, for me right now, the question was to develop good habits throughout the day to make sure that I'm on top of my game the whole day. And usually we're not on top of our games the whole day because as the day goes, you just get sloppier and sloppier. So in my case, the important part is that in the morning when I wake up, I do my stuff that I had planned the day before. So I'm trying as much as I can just before I go to sleep. Jot down 3 most important things I need to accomplish tomorrow. And they're just 3 things, not too many things. Just 3 things that are the most important for me, so that at the end of the next day I would feel proud that I did them, right? So I have this really, and I just put it on paper and just put it on paper next to my computer or maybe next to my bed. It depends, but I have it there. So when I wake up in the morning, I don't launch email, I don't launch Twitter, I don't launch all these distraction things. I just get to these 3 things. For example, just today in the morning, before I went with my daughter to kindergarten, I wrote 2 articles, just before the breakfast, because I just went there and down to the computer. I just knew which kind of articles I need to write. I had more or less the idea what I would want to write there. Just sit there and write. And for example, right now my routine is that until 12 o'clock, so until noon, I don't open all these distraction things. I don't respond to phone calls. So until noon, it's me, creative time. And at noon, I'm trying to do some exercise. Sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes half an hour, sometimes an hour, just go for a run or something. It just depends how I feel. But I do some exercise, at least something, to make sure that energy level is still up. And then, apart from noon, 1 p.m., I'm all for my people. I open email, I go through my inbox zero thing routine, I open Skype, I talk to my team, I schedule meetings and all this stuff. So I make sure that after 1 p.m. I can respond to people. Because if you're running a company, and even if you're not running a company, even if you're just one-man shop, you can find yourself responding to people all day long. So for example, this thing helped me, give me this, barrier. Until 12, I don't respond to people. Okay, there are days where there's an exception. I need to respond because of some urgent issues, but
Sure.
I try not to. But I try not to. So this is for example, one of my habits. And um, every day it's getting better. Every day it's getting better. Every day it's getting more, let's say, more consistent with that. And it really helps me a lot. I mean, my team, I was one person, then we were three, then we were, seven, then we were eight, now we are 12. So the team is growing, and I need to make sure that I have time, the creative time, to write feedback for my team, to write articles, to write specs, to draw designs for our application, to write marketing materials. I mean, to all these things require my focus. And having email, having Twitter and all this stuff, being responding to that, it's not a good idea. That's why I try to limit myself like that.
That's an amazing thing. So you force that focus time, that block of time, so that you have this time to work. You control it as much as you can. So let's talk a little bit about that. What do you do in order to control that? You've already said you personally don't open your email. You don't take your messages. Did you take some training on the part of the people you work with, your team, for example, for them to sort of
Yeah, I
learn
just
that you don't get talked at during that morning, so you have that focus time?
Yeah, so I mean, with my team, with key people in my team, we do a weekly review. So, for example, with my CTO and with my chief of, let's say, uh, chief of customer support, with these two people, for example, I do weekly review every week. So every week at exactly at noon and at 1 p.m. On Monday, we do a weekly review with them. So we go through the things that we have to do, and we we um, we make sure that we are on the same page with the focus for each week. And also over there, I tell them how this week is going to be like for me. And my chief of customer support, she's also kind of my assistant. She helps me, manage stuff. So she also knows that for Michael, you don't schedule stuff for Michael until 12 noon. So and then apart from 1 p.m., she can schedule anything for me. So she knows that, right? And also when I talk to my people, the rest of my team, we have also a weekly all hands meeting. Also, they know how I work, and they also ask them how they work. We try to make sure that we know how we work, each of us, which kind of habits we have, to make sure that we can, that I know that that for this guy I need to send feedback earlier, for this guy I need to send feedback later, and all this stuff. So we try to be on the same page, and also because we communicate through our tool. And I'm not trying here to sell my tool. The idea is that we communicate through a tool. We don't communicate through email. It's really an important change, because when you communicate through email, the messages from your team get lost with the messages from everyone else.
Sure,
And when you
absolutely.
communicate through a tool, from any online tool for task management, and that can enable collaboration, it's a different thing because you communicate through tasks. So everybody knows which task belongs to whom. We comment on tasks so we know what needs to be done and stuff. And when I want to communicate with my team, I sometimes what I do is before noon, I open, of course, Nozbe, because over there, I see the communication from my team. So over there, I do communicate with them to make sure that they are on the same page as I am, and I know their problems and their situation. But I don't open emails. I don't get more distractions.
Right.
So I think when you work in a team environment, it's really important to communicate through a tool, not through email, because email wasn't built for collaboration. It was built for communication and not for collaboration. And it's a big difference.
Well said. Well said. Uh, Despite all these things you have in place and how you respect how everybody works and you try to control your mornings for your focus, despite all these things, sometimes just the best laid plans for your day just go awry. There are days where everything takes longer than you expected and things don't go the way you expected, and it just forces you right off your schedule and you're not on your routine anymore. How do you handle it when the plans go off the rails? How do you recover? What do you do to get back on track if you sort of stray from the productivity wagon?
Yeah. So there are several things. If something happens beyond my control, like for example, there's an emergency, or I need to go because my daughter is sick or something. So when things like that happen, well, they just happen. So I have to deal with that. And because I know where I have my stuff. So I know where's my inbox. I know where's my to-do list. I know where all this stuff is. Excuse me. So I don't. Um. So when this thing is over, I know where to get back.
You get back
So
into it
here,
quickly. Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So I can get back to it quickly. So, and also here, a very important trick is don't be so hard on yourselves, guys. I mean, really, we're just humans. So things happen, and worse than that, we are humans, and there we have worse days, and this is just like that. I mean, this bad weather, the pressure is low, whatever. You have bad day. It happens. Don't be so hard on yourself. Try to get back on your feet. But if you have one bad day, it doesn't mean you're a lousy person. I mean, many people are like that. I was like that for a very long time, you know. But you're not on top of your game every single day. It's not possible. I mean, we're not, Robocops. We're not machines. We're people. So it's really important not to be hard on yourselves on this thing. And also, second thing, for example, if I have a bad day and I cannot focus, I use something like that. This is
Ah,
a this
wonderful.
is a
A Pomodoro.
this Pomodoro technique. Yes. So what I do is just I put it up on 25 minutes, and then I just put it there, and it starts ticking. When and then
There you go.
you know, so it starts ticking. And the thing is, when you have something ticking here, you start feeling anxious a little bit. Like, okay, the clock is ticking, time is ticking. Okay, I should focus on this right now. And then it's kind of, I don't know, for some reason it's easier to focus on something because there is a pressure, you know. And as we know from our college days or our high school days, when there is a pressure on you to deliver something, you start doing it, right? Because there is a pressure. So this thing, this small red thing, uh, gives me this pressure. And I remember very well, and I wrote it on my blog, that I had several, situations where I was thinking about an idea, about a problem for 2 hours without any practical solution. But then I just put the clock, and in 25 minutes I solved it. It was just amazing. It was this power of focus, this power of pressure helped me get back on my feet. And I was already being very hard on myself for losing 2 hours and doing nothing and this kind of stuff. So this really helps me also focus. So I recommend this. You don't have to use it every single half an hour, but it really helps to get back when you have a sloppy day.
That's great, and for the benefit of our readers too, there's actually a blog post that we're going to run in Productive Marketing Month, titled "Three Things You Could Do Today to Improve Your Productivity." One of those three things, actually, we talk about time boxing and the Pomodoro technique, which you're using right there. You could find it at the pomodorotechnique.com, and or just
Yes,
search Firepole Marketing blog for that post. We're going to
exactly.
put it up. But that's great, great. I was so cool to see your bright red tomato. That's wonderful. I love
Yeah,
using
yeah,
the I love using the tomato for the days for the days where, like you said, it's sloppy, or for the things that I don't like doing.
yeah,
When I
exactly.
like doing something, I really find that I don't need the timer. But
Yeah.
when I'm doing something I don't like doing, like my administrative accounting whatever stuff, let's say, and I'm very tempted to go off and surf something, the clock keeps me focused for the 25 minutes and for the
hmm
25-minute increments that I need. So actually, let me ask you that too. The stuff we love doing gets done, and isn't that amazing how that happens? But the stuff we don't like doing, sometimes it's harder to do. So we have to focus and we have to push ourselves. How do you stay motivated? Do you use your bright red tomato? Do you do other Do you do other tips or tricks?
So the thing that I learned recently was to delegate.
Wonderful, excellent, excellent
so,
technique. I
so
highly recommend
that's
it.
that's the best technique ever. So you just delegate the stuff you don't like. So for example, I hated accounting for my company, and I was doing it for quite a while. My father was helping me in that, and now I just hired my father for that. So I don't have to do it at all.
Wonderful.
So this was very helpful. But if you cannot do that, if you cannot delegate a task, there are two things that I've been using with very good success. Right. So first of all, for example, when I was doing accounting by myself, I was, I just took my laptop on my lap. I was taking all this accounting thing, with me to the living room, and I would just put a movie I wanted to
Hmm.
watch anyway. But the movie I already knew, but I wanted to watch again. Like for
Okay.
example, I haven't seen the Braveheart for I don't know several years. I wanted to see it again, like this kind of thing. And I would know that for me, it's also time boxing. So the movie lasts, let's say, 2 hours. So no, in case of Braveheart, it lasts 3 hours. But the movie lasts a certain amount of time. So I know that I have to be done with that by the time the movie ends. But the cool idea is that I was watching the movie, so I was enjoying this, and then I was doing, this clicks, printing, and all this, dull stuff. while I was watching a movie. So after that, I was quite happy that I watched the movie and did the dull stuff. So this is actually a technique I was using. And the second thing, recently I've learned a lot is to schedule something really good. I mean, very similar theme. Something really good, really nice to do after you've done the miserable stuff.
A reward.
So a reward, yes, exactly. To give this mini rewards to yourself. Like, I'm gonna, watch something. I'm gonna go out. Or I'm gonna do something. Once I'm done with that, and then you just start doing this because you want to do this other thing, because this really helps.
Do you find rewards help? I mean, that's all the whole psychology of reinforcement that plays into that. I accomplish something, I'm supposed to reward myself, so my brain gets used to the idea of rewarding myself. Do you find that that works? Do you reward yourself for major things too?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, for me, it does. For me, it does. I like to reward myself in this sense. It really helps me. It helps me do these, dull stuff, dull things. Um, it depends kind of what kind of rewards work for you, of course. I mean, everyone has different kind of, reward system, and maybe sometimes the rewards may not be so, cool or something. But in my case, I try to pick, small rewards, but the ones that are really, really help me. And then, I'll try to have a night out after I've had a good day to make sure that, I live, I don't just work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of things. And when I don't do that, I'll punish myself and postpone it for tomorrow, and then make sure that tomorrow I deliver the results. So, well, it depends. But in my case, it does work. In my case, the rewards work. And actually, recently I've read a book called The Habit of Now.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend this book. It's a very, very good book. And it's a book on procrastination, actually. So very, very good read. I'm going to be writing about this book on my blog soon. So over there, I'm using this power of unschedule. So the idea is that I'm first scheduling the good things during the day. So I'm scheduling when I'm gonna do exercise. I'm scheduling when I'm gonna have lunch. I'm scheduling the good things, the nice things, and then I have the holes between them that I have to fill up with work. So that makes me again more focused because I need to get these things done to make sure I have my lunch that I want it works. I mean, in my case, it does work.
You mentioned something earlier that I wanted to ask you about, and how do you think that plays into it? When things are there repercussions and self-imposed repercussions when you don't get things done? So let's say you wanted to get things done, but for some reason you didn't, or you had one of those sloppy days. Or I know you said don't beat yourself up, I understand that, and I certainly agree we shouldn't. But I mean, if you feel like you didn't really accomplish what you needed to accomplish, how does it work for you? Do you self-imposed repercussion? You sort of say, no, I'm not going to get the reward. Bad Michael. How does that work?
Well, it depends, of course, on the repercussion. But most of the times, I'm trying to find something positive about it. I'm trying to find the what I have learned from the experience. Why didn't it go so well? And for me, the reward is to find a better way to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, and find a way why it hasn't been done. And then I'm trying to postpone my reward, let's say, for next day, if I manage to approach it from the different angle or something. So I've read recently also that that's the best. We learn from our failures. So when you have failed, the good thing is to actually study why you failed and then try again.
Wonderful.
So
there's an element of self-evaluation there and self-assessment. Okay,
exactly.
What happened today that was wrong? Why did I not get it done, and learn from it?
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Because sometimes it can be a very trivial thing. You just scheduled too many things and
Right.
didn't get them done because there were just too many things. And then you learn, okay, so I shouldn't schedule so many things for one day because then I will be miserable anyway because I won't get it's very, this is the thing we talked about before. I plan 3 major things for each day. I think Leo Vogopoulos said that with 3 big rocks or something in his Zen to Done course. So 3 things. And this is really easy because you actually get these 3 things done very quickly. And then when you do, you feel even better because you accomplished more than these 3 things. But if you plan you're gonna do 10 things tomorrow, then it can be tricky.
Right. Great advice. So let me ask you now that we also touched upon this briefly, and so I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I've been asking everybody this. You make sure you don't open up any of those distractions, as you call them, until afternoon. Uh,
Yes.
so how do you work the distractions, email and the social media? I love hearing the divergent thoughts about this because keeping up with the massive email that we get, and then keeping up with all the social media stuff that um, we seem to be asked to do. Uh, what's your personal philosophy on that? Because I love hearing the divergent thoughts about entrepreneurs and how they use these things or not use them.
Yeah. So something I have to learn still is, for example, the Facebook thing, because I am kind of active on Facebook, but for me, Facebook is such a big distraction. It's such a big time killer that I'm still trying to avoid it. I prefer Twitter. On Twitter, I get more involved with people. I get more communicative. I mean, if you can actually check it out. I mean, if you retweet me or involve, if you get involved in the conversation with me on Twitter, I'll be happy to respond over there. So what I do is on Twitter, for example, I schedule my Twitter time. So I usually do it, when I'm on the move because I just use my iPhone as my Twitter client. I hardly ever open the desktop Twitter client. I don't use Twitter on my desktop. I usually use it on my iPhone. So, and there are so many, small holes of time during the day where you can use it because when you're waiting in line for something or when you're just walking or whatever. So I use the Twitter on my iPhone, and I use this very cool application called Buffer for Twitter, where you can just stack up several tweets, and then they will just appear over time. Because, for example, when I read on my Reader, so it's a Google Reader application called Reader. On my iPhone, when there are just when there are things I would like to share with people, I use Buffer to buffer these up and then share them later. So with Twitter, I mean, Twitter takes me about maximum half an hour to work, and I feel quite engaged with people. I'm there, and I have 20,000+ followers, and still I feel it's not overwhelming. I think it's fun. With email, I think the habit of getting to zero with inboxes, I got it quite easy. I mean, this is very quickly for me to process email inboxes quite fast. The only problem I have sometimes is to schedule email time to respond to some of the emails that need more than 2 minutes to respond. Because usually I use the 2-minute rule. So when I go through an email inbox, I respond quickly to emails I know the answer to right now. And for the rest, and the rest, I try to archive. And the ones that I need a thorough response, I move them, to a reply folder. And over there, I'm not always following through with, every day cleaning this up. So over there, I need more work over there. But the habit of cleaning up the inbox, I got it quite well. I think only this, I need to schedule more time for email to make sure that all these responses are don't stack up. Because over there, even you can get to 30, 40 messages that need your response, and each message, would take 5 to 10 minutes, and then it just, becomes the whole day of just responding email.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why over there, I sometimes fall into this trap of having too many emails in this folder and not cleaning them up as I go. And this is something I need to work on. But apart from that, it's more or less okay. And so for me, this is how I manage more or less the social media and for me, for example, the blogging thing, it's very easy. I use the Posters platform, and over there I just send an email to my blog. When I send an email to my blog, the email converts to a blog post, and when it converts to a blog post, it tweets that there is a new blog post, and it sends a message to Facebook as well that there is a new blog post. So I also like to automate all these things. So
What was the platform
in
you
the future,
said?
Posters.
Posters, right? That's where I thought I heard you. Yeah.
Posters, yeah, posters. So and in the future, I will be also trying to get more automation also for my users in my application and in many more aspects of my life, because I think we still do too many labor tasks that we shouldn't be doing. And for example, I love this thing that when I send an email to my blog platform, everything else gets
Happens
done later.
automatically. All that automation.
It's amazing. It's really cool. That's why I prefer it that way. And that's why for me, writing a blog post, it's a question of 15 to 20 25 minutes, because I have some drafts in my email application. I just pick up on one of these drafts, continue writing on that, and then just send it over, and it appears as a blog post. So I think it's a good system like that.
I admire you prolific writers. I usually take a little bit longer than that to get my blog posts out, much to the frustration of my partner Danny. Danny can pound out a blog post in half an hour. It takes me 3 times that amount of time to get a blog post, which I consider worthy of having the entire world reading. So I respect all you guys who manage to get that done fast that way.
The
Um,
thing is that with practice, it gets better.
yeah.
So, for example, in my case, when I started my michaelnosbe.com blog, so my personal blog, I wanted just to make sure that I get more practice to write. I like writing, and I wanted to practice more. I saw great writers like Leo Bauta, like other guys who write really beautiful blog posts, and with in time, I think I just learned a lot more. Still, my writing skills are not really the best, but I keep writing. And for example, recently I encouraged one of my people from my team to start blogging
Hmm.
because she was complaining that her style is not the best. And I said, just do a Tumblr or posterior's blog, keep writing, even if nobody reads it. Doesn't matter. Just keep writing every day or every other day, but make sure to write. I'm going to subscribe to your blog, and I'm going to make sure that if you don't post regularly, I'm going to ask you why. So, and in this sense, she's right now writing, every other day, and she loves it, and she gets to practice on her skills. She posts without this stress because she writes in foreign language for her.
Right.
Actually, she writes in Japanese, so it's
Wow.
a very big thing. And so in her case, she doesn't have this stress that there may be a mistake or an error. She just writes, and with writing, you get the skill.
Practice is everything, isn't it?
Oh yes, oh yes.
And nobody
That
learned it. Nobody learned it overnight. Everybody practiced.
somebody said that the magic of 10,000 hours. If you've
Yeah.
been doing something 10,000 hours, you're a proficient.
This is Michael Gladwell in Outliers. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Michael Gladwell. Mm-hmm.
Uh, you have a wonderful video and magazine show that you put out called Productive Magazine, and you've interviewed, like you said earlier, some really major guys, Guy Kawasaki and Seth Godin, and I think your first issue was the father of getting things
David Allen.
done, David Allen. I remember seeing that. I'm going, wow, what a score for the first issue. So I mean, that's a great thing. Kudos to you. What do you what I mean, always you've been talking about productivity with these people, or their flavor of productivity as it applies to them. What do you think were sort of like a takeaway that sort of is common along all these people that you think is that seems to just come up all the time when you speak with all these people?
So the most common thing is that everybody's different. That's the most common thing, and I love it. Yeah, so I think what we just talked about earlier. So the question of practice, so that they practice what they preach, and they try to practice a lot. Like when Guy Kawasaki is into social media, he's like 110% into social media right now. For example, when he started with Twitter, he got immediately 100,000 followers. When he got into Google Plus, now he has I don't know how many people following him on Google Plus. So they are really much they're just passionate about what they do, and they do it 110%. I think this is the most important thing. Like David Allen, he's all about productivity. He's all about getting things done. He has these habits engraved in him. When you talk to him, it's just so obvious, and we're like, come on, it's not that easy, David. But for him, it is because it's engraved in him, and all these other guys, Leo Babauta, it was practice, practice, practice. He was he was building a habit every month, a different habit every month, and he got there where he got, and other guys, Seth Godin, he just keeps on shipping. He keeps on shipping. So he keeps on sending, new manifestos, new books. I mean, 2 or 3 blog posts a day. Seth is amazing, and Jason Fried, and so I think the passion is the most important thing. They are passionate about what they do, and you can feel it when you talk to them. You can feel it. You can see it. You can just sense it there. So for me, I think the passion is what is in common with all these people, and that's why this is what attracts us to them, because this passion is just it's contagious. You know,
Sure.
when there is a passionate person, you just can't help it. You want to be part of it, their passion, part of their tribe, part of their following. That's why for me, it's a privilege to be able to talk to these guys, and I'm humbled that they want to talk to me actually. And to learn from them. But what I got from them mostly is the question of passion. And actually, I'm almost finished with a book about passion. So
Oh,
I'm
good.
gonna self-publish it. It's gonna be free, so it's not a big deal. But it's gonna be a self-published book, and hopefully, sometime in the next few months, gonna wrap it up and then send it over.
I look forward to seeing that. Passion, and it seems like an intense focus on your craft. I think that's also
Yeah.
what seems to have come out of that, because they all seem, like you said, they all seem to be in it 110%, whatever it is they're doing.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Wonderful.
It's like for example, let's say in my case, my biggest problem is my biggest weakness. Let's say is that I'm a very slow reader. I read very slowly, and I mean very slowly, not like very slowly, but I don't read as fast as I would like to write to read. For example, I can type very quickly. I'm a touch typer. I type very quickly. But with reading, I've done some speed reading courses. It didn't help. I'm still fairly average reader, let's say. And for my standards, it's a weakness because I would like to consume as much content as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and I cannot. So, like 2 or 3 years ago, I found myself, but making a New Year's resolution, saying that I have read 3 books last year. I mean, the year before, and I was like, that's not really great, isn't it? No, 3 books, not really. And there are so many things in this book that I want to write. And I had, a wish list in Amazon, like, 2 pages, 3 pages long, just the initial batch of things I wanted to read. And this is why, for example, I discovered the audiobooks. And the audiobooks just
Aha.
made the whole difference. Because people read stuff to me, right? So, and actually, and when you have an audiobook, and I bought it from Audible. I'm a very good subscriber in Audible. So when you do that, you can actually double the speed of the reading. And because I speak quite fast, so for me, reading quite fast, I mean, listening quite fast is not a big deal. So I find myself, reading, at least 1 book a week.
That's
Because
fantastic.
when you go run some errands or something, I just have my iPhone with me all the time. I just put it on. I just put the book on, and I'm just consuming these books like crazy. So just think about the change. When 1 year I read 3 books, three, and then the next year I read 30 books. 30. I mean, this is a big thing. So as you said, when you're committed to your craft and when you want to be better, you find a way to be better despite your weaknesses, for example, right?
That's
So, for example, in
fantastic.
my case, this was my weakness, and I made sure that I got over it. Many people don't like audiobooks. I love them. I love them, and I'm gonna, I'm just, I'm actually not reading a book if there is no audio version. So I'm hoping that with each book I want to read, there is an audio version, because then I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna read it.
Authors and publishers take note. There's a whole population out there that consumes information differently, and you just found the way you like consuming information. Everybody consumes information differently. Some people like reading it, some
Exactly.
people more visual, some people more auditory, and you just found your best way. That's fantastic.
Yeah, for example, my wife, she enjoys sitting with the book and reading. I mean, and I appreciate it. I understand that. I don't. For me, it's kind of dull, and I would like to do some other things. And then when I read the book by listening to it, I do it when I'm running, when I'm going somewhere. And for me, it's not a big deal to listen to it and to still remember what the book was about.
You absorb it just as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Wonderful. So I have one final question for you, Michael, and then we'll wrap it
Okay.
up. Uh, Always, whenever we're talking about productivity, we're always talking about that whole elusive work-life balance, or not so elusive, depending on who you are. So we've got work life and we've got our personal life, and
Yeah.
sometimes the lines get fuzzy, particularly if you're an entrepreneur. And a lot of the things we do are just focused around trying to maintain that balance so that we also make sure that we take care of the people we care about and our families, and taking our children to kindergarten, and like you said, and having some time for ourselves. What do you do to make sure that you keep that work-life balance? What are some of the things that you have adopted to force that?
So there is a very good solution for that. If you're a guy, get a good wife.
I second
So,
that. Happy wife, happy life, happy wife.
exactly. So my wife is quite, I mean, she appreciates what I'm doing and stuff, but my wife is quite, ruthless as for our free time. And she's like, Michael, this is 6 p.m. You are closing your computer right now. And that's it. So and she doesn't do it because she wants to be bad to me. She does it because she loves me. So and same goes. And when this technique doesn't succeed, well, what she does is she just opens the door to my home office and then lets my 3 year young daughter come in. And when my daughter comes in, I mean, no father can withstand a 3-year-old daughter. I mean, there is no way you can withstand that. So my wife makes sure that I keep my balance because I would, because when you love what you do and then when you love your family, there are two things that you love, and it's really hard to distinguish between
Sure.
these two. So it's really important for that. I also schedule my time with my family. So for example, I if I know that from that to that I have time with my family, but then they go to sleep or my wife has something to do, then I can work a little bit more, for example, right? So I'm trying
Right.
also to make sure that I get this balance like that. But you know, it's good to have somebody else who's helping you maintain the balance. Because I'm with my scheduling and all this stuff, I am pretty okay with that. But I wouldn't be near as successful if I hadn't had a wife who would, help me out with that. So totally, a support system like that is really important.
So the secret to success, having a good support person, somebody who's going to make sure that you take care of yourself too. And that's not.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. It's
It
a,
was.
it's yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's just the thing that sometimes you cannot do it on your own, and sometimes you just all in there working, and that's why the support system from the outside is really really helpful.
Didn't Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Grow Rich talk about the fact that behind it? I mean, obviously it was written at a different time when men are the
Right.
ones who are usually the ones who are doing the work, which is completely antiquated now. Now it could be just as easily be any gender. But he was talking about the men always behind a good man is a great woman. Didn't he write about that in his
Yes,
book? Yeah, I thought
it
so.
is. It is. No, in my case, for example, my wife has a great career, but because she has a job that has time boxes, time limit. I mean, she goes back from the job, so I mean, and when she's coming, and I know for a fact that when she comes back from her job and she sees me by the computer, she's angry. So, so in this way, it's I think it's a good balance because she has a job which is like from let's say 9 to 5, and I don't have a 9 to 5. I work from home, and I'm an entrepreneur. I can work the whole time. So
You
that's
choose.
why it's
You're an entrepreneur. You choose which 90 hours of the week you work.
exactly. That's true. That's true. That's true. But on the other hand, the good thing is that, for example, I can schedule some free time in the morning to run some errands or do something else. But yeah, I think it's my wife has a great career, but she helps me a lot because she is this great my better half. So it's a good thing.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that's all I have, Michael, and I think we should be wrapping it up. I don't. I want to make sure that our readers and our listeners are going to listen to this whole video. I wanted to
Exactly.
thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. It was really really insightful. Lots of great tips, lots of great techniques, lots of great insights.
Thank you.
Thank you again for your time. Thank you again for being a sponsor for Productive Marketing Month. It was really a pleasure to talk to you face to face. I've seen your posts. I've seen your picture all over the place whenever I log on to Nozbe or whenever I read Productive Magazine. So this was a pleasure for me.
Thank you so much, Peter. It was a pleasure on my side, and I'm just happy that you're doing what you're doing, and so I'm keep it up, and let's see how the survey results turn out.
Can't wait to see myself. Oh, this is Peter Vogopoulos interviewing Michael Sliwinski from Nozbe. Thank you, and see you next time.
Take care, guys. Obviously, the most important thing for me right now is Nozbe, because Nozbe is my application. Nozbe is right now where that earns me money, basically. But most of all, it's my favorite thing because I'm building a tool that I love to use that thousands upon thousands of people and companies use all over the world. And actually, the whole idea of changing, of influencing how people work is incredible. So this is clearly my main focus. Um, Productivity is my passion. That's why I wasn't born a very organized person. Let's say. I mean, my wife, for example, she's just organized by design. I mean, she's just well organized.
No,
Well,
too.
I was a disaster, and that's why I read Getting Things Done by David Allen. I built Nozbe for myself initially, then later I showed it to the world. And now with Practice Magazine show, I'm trying to learn from the community and learn with the community how to get things done. Get to talk to really amazing people who, I mean, mentors. So I would say to just learn more about getting things done, about productivity, about work-life balance and all this stuff. Because right now in this information society, this is what we need. We need to know. We need to know the good habits. We need to know what we should do, how to get it all done, right? So for me, that's the whole thing. I know what my primary focus is, where my core business is, and it's Nozbe. But the rest of the stuff, it just comes from my passion for productivity. And let's say my path wouldn't be complete if I would just focus on Nozbe. That's why I'm spending some of my time to these other ventures, which just are good, and I get lots of positive feedback from people, and I get to learn a lot. And this is the thing.
That's wonderful. And do tell us just a little bit, just for the benefit of our viewers, just for context here. I mean, I recall, and I've been following Nozbe and you for some time. I mean, it seems that you started off, from what I understand, this was a tool that you made for yourself, and then you refined it, and then started showing it to the world, and then started hiring developers. And I think you were also following your passion in the sense that you were doing productivity training for people. I remember seeing you do that, and you also have a
Mm-hmm.
very nice productivity primer on Nozbe.com, a really nice, succinct way of just getting
Yeah.
started with getting things done. So just tell us a little bit about that and how that sort of like did that just fall into place, or was that by design?
Well, it just fell into place. I mean, the whole thing started when I was running my e-marketing agency, Appivision.com. Appivision.com is no longer a business that I did for hire anymore because I focus mainly right now on Nozbe, on our, let's say, on our product. But until that point, when I launched Nozbe, I was for hire. I was working with many companies, helping them sell stuff over the internet. And because I was fairly successful, I was starting to not to meet deadlines. I was starting to be disorganized. And then I found the book by David Allen, Getting Things Done. And I built Nozbe practically overnight. I built it just for myself, very bare bones, just for fun, and it just helps me grow.
That's great. Well, it was amazing to watch you how you did that, and so like this is great that you give us this context. Thank you. But this ties nicely into sort of like what I was wanting to talk to you about next. Is that I mean, okay, you've done all those things in Nozbe and Productive Magazine, and you probably have more ideas that you could do, but you talked about focus. How do you choose what you're going to do? And once you've chosen, okay, I'm going to do Nozbe and I'm going to do Productive Magazine, and I see how these things tie together. How do you make sure you follow through and it doesn't get done? And you don't get distracted by the shiny object, or
Yeah.
you let those other ideas sort of like start taking more prominence.
Because so to give you a more context to this, before I launched Nozbe and succeeded with Nozbe, I failed 3 times with the startup. So it's not like I was my bullseye in the first run. It wasn't. I failed 3 times, and what I learned from that is that I was actually pursuing many different things at a time,
Hmm.
and this gave me Nozbe. So early success with Nozbe gave me this confidence to focus just on that. And right now I have so many ideas. I mean, so many ideas. And now my team has grown, and we are. I just hired 4 new amazing developers, and so the team has grown. We're bigger, but and I have many more ideas. But the thing is, still, some things you just have to.
Hello, everyone. This is Peter Vogopoulos from FirepoleMarketing.com. Welcome once again. This is another interview installment for Productive Marketing Month. Today, I'm very, very pleased and very honored to have Michael Sliwinski. Did I say that right, Michael? He
Yeah.
is the founder of a wonderful getting things done online application app called Nozbe, which you can find at Nozbe.com. He's also a blogger at michaelnosby.com, and he's the editor of his own magazine and video show called Productive Magazine, which you can find as well through either the Nosby.com site or at Productive Magazine. And he's also the CEO of his own e-marketing agency called API Vision. So clearly, this man does a lot. And he is also the premier sponsor of Productive Marketing Month and the premier sponsor of the survey. We're really pleased to have him. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So I'm gonna ask you the same thing I ask every other very, very busy person who I interview here. You've got Nozbe going on, and you were just telling me earlier before we started the interview how you've been working hard on the desktop version, and you've got your e-marketing agency, and somehow you also managed to do your video show where you've interviewed some amazing people. How do you get all that done? How do you get it all done? Is what we want to know.
Yeah, so it's so that I think the most important thing is the focus, right? So to make sure that what's the most important thing. So I'll be a very simple thing, and I was using it and I was refining it, and when I decided it's a thing that can actually if it works for me, maybe it will work for some other Michaels in the world, right? So that's why I decided to launch it. And when I launched it, apparently there were many more Michaels than I thought on this planet. So people started using it. Yeah, and people started using it, and and I was running Nozbe first year as a side business. But after 1 year of running it and seeing that there was a big potential there, and there are lots of great users there, and I'm enjoying working on it a lot more than working for other customers. So I decided to just go full time, and then it developed into a business. But the thing is that meanwhile, when I was preparing for the launch of Nozbe, I was already very active in the GTD community. I was already reading blogs and getting things done and participating in the forums. So I knew more or less the GTD community. I was already searching for hacks and tools to get things done better and all this stuff. So my passion for productivity, was building itself when I was building Nozbe. And that's why it was easier for me when I launched Nozbe to get to the community and to ask them for feedback, and later to continue developing this passion for productivity through Proactive Magazine and through the courses and some trainings and some and some other stuff. So that's why for me the Proactive Magazine is right now internal part of my DNA. I love doing this because it's just so much